everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Her Playbook podcast with Devon Newberry and Jaden Whitmarsh. We are more than excited to be back here. We took a week break, a little hiatus. We're happy to be back.
Yeah, we're really excited. We just got back from national championships in Gulf Shores, Alabama, and we had a good tournament. It was, it was really exciting to be there for the last time, and we were all taking it in, soaking it in, and we played our first match against Texas A&M Corpus Christi.
Yes.
And we won. How was your feelings going into the first game?
Gosh, the first game took me by surprise. I knew that team was going to be a tougher team because everyone, I think we mentioned this in another episode, but I knew that it doesn't matter what the rankings are. Everyone's going to play their best in Gulf Shores, Alabama in the national championships, especially when you have literally nothing to lose going against a 2 seed. And so for me, that was we do video scouting, and that team that I played was completely different in the past video. They're doing shots I have never seen before on 3 of their past matches. And me and Perry were kind of whoa, what is going on?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was definitely an adjustment period. And I wish we were more well prepared, but I think that we handled the adversity well, considering that was a different team than we expected to play.
Yeah.
But yeah, there were definitely some nerves. I think it was more I knew my team had my back though. So no matter what was happening in my match, I was I took a little glimpse at the scoreboard. I was we're okay. We're going to finish this and we're going to be fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, our game was kind of the same way. We were who is this team across the net? They really showed up and played so well, and you can kind of you could tell that they were we have nothing to lose, let's just go for it.
Yeah.
And they played us really tough, and it was also my partner's first time playing in a national championship tournament and my fourth, but I feel there was still just the nerves are there, obviously.
Totally.
It's a big deal. It's single elimination. You know this team's coming for you.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, we ended up winning that duel. And then the next day we played
Cal
in the morning. How was that game for you?
Cal was such a fun game because not only appreciating that this is my last national championship, there are people who I'm almost more excited to play because it's the last time I'm going to play them. Mm-hmm. And we have, I want to say she's 6'5". On our pair. We have a 6'5" blocker who is huge, and she just really takes her space at the net. So for me, it was exciting to get to play someone like that again, and knowing it's going to be like a dog fight almost. Mm-hmm. And we had a really great match. That was kind of the match I wanted. I wanted it to be kind of more of a beatdown because I was we had just come off of a really close game with Texas Corpus Christi, and I needed that fire and spunk back.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be able to put some a point on the board for my team.
Yeah.
And so I was very happy that I was able to do that with the Cal match.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of weird because it's I'm not going to be playing against those 2 girls anymore. And I have no friendship with them or whatever, but it was such it was such fun matches when I did get to play against them that I was oh, this is so I'm not going to see that player anymore. Right. So it was weird.
Yeah, our game versus Cal was definitely the dogfight we were expecting. Portia and Jenna, from Cal, 2 really spunky, loud, kind of competitive players, and we knew that going into it was going to be like that. And they played great. I thought we played great. It was neck and neck, and then our game stopped in the middle of our 3rd set, so we didn't end up finishing our game versus Cal. But then our team won.
Yes.
And we played the semifinals the same day versus LSU. They upset Stanford.
It was the craziest match I've ever seen in volleyball.
Crazy.
The craziest duel. It came down to the 3rd set on 1 court. Well, actually, it came down to the 3rd set on 4 courts.
Yeah.
And which is just unheard of, really. It never really comes down to the wire like that. It usually comes down to 1 pair. But the fact that it was in a 3rd set for all of them, and LSU had to win all 3 sets in the 3rd set in order to do it. Stanford had already won. Mm-hmm. So LSU came back in the 3rd set, and I think it was on my court of the 2s. Yeah. And so they were down, I want to say 5-0 on the switch. And they just lit a fire, and it truly was one of the most special times in Gulf Shores, even though my team's not a part of that. I'm not a part of that. Mm-hmm. But to watch it was so exciting.
Yeah.
And then we had to gear up to play them soon because it was the same day, wasn't it?
They literally finished their game versus Stanford and then had an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like quick prep too, because I think that we were all kind of scouting more towards Stanford because that's what we were expecting and like everybody else was kind of expecting based on how the game was going.
Yeah. And also with Stanford being the number 3 seed and LSU being 11, you're like, okay, like I'm leaning towards Stanford.
Totally. For us, we were happy either way because we like, I'm competitive and like I want them to be a little tired before we go out and play LSU.
Yeah.
For the LSU match, I have had like such a fun time playing those 2 girls, Parker Bracken and Riley Allred. They have such a fire to them and it makes it such a competitive, fun match. Like I don't really mind the screaming and I don't mind like people getting all fired up with the LSU fans. Like it just makes it a really cool environment.
Yeah.
And so we lost that match, but it was so fun. And it was one of those matches that you walk away kind of being like, wow, that's a great game of volleyball. I can't really be too upset about it. And our team won it.
Yeah. Well, also back to those LSU 2s, like they are such a fun pair, and I think what were they, top flight award?
Yeah.
Like they were just a team consistently throughout the season that was showing up for LSU.
Totally.
So like that loss for you guys, like that's a great team.
Yeah, I mean, it was like they ended up getting actually the all tournament award for the 2. So, and it was like I was so happy it was them because like they really deserved it. Like they also were the ones who clinched the duel for Stanford and like getting to watch that moment. So it's like it's so fun to play in those high competitive matches, but then also like have that same respect for the people across the net and be like, you guys deserve this moment. Like go enjoy it. And like that was the end of their like year in their season. So like I'm fine with them beating us on our court and like getting to have that moment, you know?
Yeah. And that LSU game for Tessa and I was huge. Like we just like in the 2 previous games before, we were in the 3rd sets. Like we hadn't finished a game. So we were just like hungry and like we were like, I want to do this for the team. And we came in with the mentality like, let's just like leave it all out on the court. And we played some of our best volleyball we've played all season. So like getting that win for us was huge. And then also bringing that into the final game, we had like more confidence, which I think we really, really needed. So yeah, that semifinal match was great. And then we were on to the final day.
Yes.
Sunday.
So, like, we go to bed that night. I can't sleep. I'm like, I go to bed at like 12, I think, and I woke up at 5 and I was like, I was just excited to play. I was nervous. I had butterflies. I just like, it like, no matter what, it was going to be our last match. And it was like, that was so exciting and like a weird feeling as well. And we got to play first. It was just the 2s and the 4s starting the match off. So like, I think us warming up where we were like so fired up to like kickstart it for our team. And like everyone felt so good going into the match.
Yeah.
And at least for my match, like when Perry and I had scouted before, every time we have played that 2 pair from USC, we have won one of the sets by a lot.
Yeah.
By a lot to where you're almost getting like, all right, this should be an easy second set.
Right.
And then that pair always wins the second set. And then you're like, wait, how did that just happen? And then it's a dogfight in the 3rd set. And it's like, who's going to be able to clinch it at the end?
Yeah.
And we've been pretty even split with them throughout the season. I think it was like 3-2 or something like that. And so we felt really good going into it. Same thing happens. First set, me and Perry put on a show. Like it was just, everything was just going our way.
Yeah.
Like it was just like magic. Like there wasn't really anything we could do. I knew that they weren't playing their best at that point. Second set turns and then they're starting to ramp up. They're serving a little more. They're starting to change their defense. They're offensively just going like way harder. And then they win that second set. And then that 3rd set happens and we're up. I think we were up 7-2 at one point. Our side switch was 7-3. So we're up 7-3 and I'm thinking we got this in the bag. And then in like the blink of an eye, they come back and they end up winning the 3rd set. And that, like, we'll talk more about like that USC UCLA rivalry, but just like within that match, like I come out of that match and like I obviously was upset and I was a little shocked. I was kind of like, what just happened?
Yeah.
But it was like me at my most competitive, like dying on that court self. And like I was so tired at the end of that match. And I was just like, oh my God, like heavy breathing, putting every single ounce of my body into those points. And like I was pissed that we lost, and I'm sure finding reasons at the other team to be pissed, whether it was screaming or whether it wasn't. But it's like when we were shaking hands, like we had both said to each other, like it was like an honor to play against each other through the year. And I think that is like so true. Like that pair that we had played against had brought out like the most competitive, fun side of myself. And like winning those matches reminds me, and losing them reminds me like why I love this sport so much, because like those moments are just things you can't take away. Like, and me playing at my very best, I don't really care win or loss. I'm so happy with how like much I was able to give of myself. I wish it was a reverse outcome for my match, but it wasn't. And then I ran right to your court.
Yeah. I was saying earlier that match, I think, was the most physically and mentally exhausting match of my entire life. We knew that going into our game, like we were going to have to like play our best because they're a great team. Grace Sight's one of like the best blockers I think I've ever played against. And then Ashley Pater, who's a freshman, she's really crafty, and obviously like they're a great team. So just going into it, we knew we could beat them, but we knew we just needed to like be focused. And just getting out there the first set, like it was pretty back and forth. Like you could tell there was nerves on both sides, but it was still good volleyball all the way around. And then it ended up being like 26, or no, they were up by like 2. It was like 2018. And then I go to serve and it's like a triple ace. I'm like, oh my God, thank you. Like I needed that so badly. And then I think she hit it out for 2020. And at that moment I was like, oh,
we're good.
Got this. We got this. So they took a timeout, and then we came back out, and it ended up going back and forth. And then we ended up winning the first set 26-24. And after that, I was just like, oh my gosh, like how did that happen? Like it kind of felt like we just like robbed them from the first set. Yeah. And then the second set, we had a great start. I think we were up. They took a timeout at like 6-2, and we were just like, okay, we're rolling. We were up by like 3-4 like most of the match, and then they ended up coming back like towards the middle. And I just remember them just getting a couple like few like lucky plays. Things were starting to go their way. And then it was another like 2020 moment, and back and forth. They ended up winning 25-23. And that one, it felt like a stab in the chest, because I was like, oh my God, like we were up and we kind of let them like back in the game. And if we just could have like closed it out, like we had a match point. If we just could have like closed it out, it could have been done. Yeah. And going into that third set, it was just like, by then I felt like, oh my gosh, like we're going to do another set. Like I cannot believe we're about to go through this again. And we battled like literally, like you were saying, like it felt like I died on that court. Like I like was doing everything in my power, and it ended up going their way. And it like I sat in my bench after, and like we were literally just sitting there and like could not even speak. And I just felt like I felt like empty. Like I was like, I literally emptied the tank like as much as I possibly could. Like there's simply nothing else I could have done. So like you were saying about just like feeling good about it, I do feel good about it. And I clearly wish the outcome was different, especially because if one of us could have won the game, like
who knows what would have happened. Yeah.
But then you circle through the who knows and the what ifs, and like it was a bummer that neither of us could have won the game. And then it went to our 1-3-5, so it wasn't over yet. And I don't know, how did you feel watching the 1-3-5s?
I felt like I remember being in the role of like reassuring everyone younger than me, like, hey, it could still happen. Like we've done it before, because we reverse sweep them in Pac-12.
ASU, yeah.
And so I was like, it could happen. I have so much trust in these three pairs. Like it's really now just them going and playing their own games and stuff like that. I remember thinking to myself, like, God, like I feel so bad for Lexi right now, just because I remember we were in the opposite position last year, and like we were watching the 2s and 4s lose, and it having to be on our court, and knowing that like we have to win our game if we want to win. And I just remember thinking like Lexi's in that same position again. But I mean, I was so proud of everyone. They really did like die out there, and like that's really all you can ask. Every set went to 3. Every single court went to 3, and like that's all you can ask for in a national championship. I mean, that's like the best national championship you can get, is when every single court goes to 3, and you have those feelings of anxiety, you have those feelings of hope, and like you might do it, you might not, like you just don't know what's going to happen. But I think it is, I don't know, I was able to recover pretty quickly on Gulf Shores and like the national championship, and like not being a national championship or national champion pretty quickly, because like I've been so ready for this next chapter of my life. And like being a college athlete is a damn grind. Like it is emotionally and physically like and mentally like really, really, really hard. Like at a lot of times. And I have been so present this whole year, and like I've known that like this was my last time. And so I've kind of already like gotten over the feelings of sadness and moved on to being like really excited for my future. And so I think that I knew that no matter what, this game was going to be over, and I was going to be moved on to the future. So win or lose. And I was saying this earlier, but like all I know is losing in the national championship. It like we've lost 3 times in finals and 1 time in the semis. And like there's a sadness about that, but there's also like, I don't know what it feels like to win those big moments. All I know is I'm looking back on the year, and I'm so glad I was a Bruin. Like I wouldn't trade anything in the world to go back and be on a different team to win a national championship. Like I would rather be a Bruin and being like losing in those big matches, which is fine. And I can't wait to go cheer them on next year. There's going to be a year where they do it. And I thought I would be a little like salty if they won next year. I was trying to think about that. I was thinking about that way earlier on, like before we even went to Gulf Shores, and I was like, what if we lose and they win next year? And then I was like, now feeling it, I was like, I want nothing more than for those girls to like win every national championship they can moving forward, and to be like cheering my heart out for them on the court. Because like they are like such a piece of our family now, and like such a huge part of my life, that I just want the best for them. And like I want the best for them. I'm excited to be moving forward, and I don't care as much right now.
For me it's slightly different, just because I was on like when I was a freshman, like our team did win the national championship that year, so I got to literally see what it looked like to run into the water, to cut the net. Like I literally felt that feeling. And so going through playing, and like my whole dream was to play and win a national championship, and like feel that the difference of like being on the team, but being in like the watching role or like the cheering role, versus like playing and like really having an impact. And I don't know, I think it's been pretty hard like to lose in the championship. Like you were saying, 3 years in the final and then 1 year in semifinal, like to be that close to that feeling but not get it, so hard. Like I don't know, there's been multiple nights where it's just like that's all I can think about. And it's just, you always think about like, what could I have done? Like, should I have like done this? Like, what if I was with this person? What if like, I don't know, you're just constantly thinking, and it can be really hard, especially when you give your all for like 9 months.
Like, for that one moment. And then it's like down to like a couple points, and you're like, why did I even do that? Like that could be really, really hard mentally. But like you were saying, like I simply wouldn't change anything. Like looking back on this year and reflecting, I thought our team was really, really amazing and really, really special this year. And I feel like we were all so close, and we're like a family, and we wanted to do it for each other. And it sucks that we are not going to be binded by a national championship, but we're always going to be binded. Exactly.
Is amazing.
I think it's a really special thing to say that we've gotten to experience those moments. And I do think that when you're like, I remember there was 1 year where it hit me like really hard when we lost. I think it was when I think it was a semifinal year maybe, where I was just like in shock. I was like, how did we just lose this?
Right.
But there is like nothing more bonding than like crying and like hanging out and like going over like the sad times and like being really sad together. And yeah, I mean, I think we said it perfectly. Like, I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Agreed.
So the USC rivalry, you want to do that?
Yeah.
So the USC rivalry has been a thing since I got to UCLA. I had known about it. I mean, it's kind of a thing historically throughout sports, like USC versus UCLA. I don't think I was as aware of like how personal it gets. Like, you really take that on. Like, that rivalry like lives in your head of like, you're going to beat USC. It means more than like a lot of other matches do, like emotionally, which is so strange because like, a win is a win and a loss is a loss. Yeah. And it's like, it shouldn't really matter versus like SC or a different team, but it just does. It just stings a little more when you lose. It feels a little better when you win. And so, okay, first, how do you go about being friends with your how do you go about being friends with your competition?
Not very well.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like I'm like a mean person. I'm just very competitive, especially when it comes to playing volleyball. And when I'm in season, it's like the people across the net from me are like not my friends. Yeah. And I can understand like people that I've known for a really long time, even like before UCLA, and just like growing up, like playing with people, playing against people, like you're friends. Like the beach volleyball community is really small. But for me, how it's always been is just like when it's in season, like we're not friends. Totally. And I don't feel like I need to be like super buddy with you, especially if like we're both competing for like the same thing. Yeah, of course. And I think that like it would be weird if like you were having like a best friend on a different team, but you weren't able to separate that from season. And so it's like, it wouldn't feel like a betrayal. Like everybody has friends on different teams, but it would just feel like a little weird if you're like, I don't know, like buddy with somebody that you're about to go like head to head with for the exact same thing, and you don't have that like fire under your belly. I think there's people who can do it where it's like you can be friends immediately once the game finishes. But when you're on that game, like it doesn't matter who's across the night, like you're gonna come for the kill. I have been the type where I don't have too many close friends in the beach volleyball world that aren't on my team. So like it's never been like a personal affliction if I've been like playing against people. It's happened over summer and like when I'm playing against my teammates and stuff and my roommates. But for me, I used to have a big problem with just like the USC rivalry in the beginning of when I got here as a freshman, where like I took that stuff really personal. And like I was so focused on the other side of the net and like what they were doing and like what they were like, what reaction they were giving to when they would win a point, and like if they were going to turn and scream in my face. Like I was taking note and like I was reacting based off that, and I was more fiery because of that, probably too much. Like then I started reacting and playing a different game. And that wasn't good for me because it made those losses way harder and it made those wins feel really good, but then like question myself after, being like, oh shoot, I shouldn't have done that. Like, well, and then I got injured and I took like a different outlook on it. And now it's like, I'm the type of person where like, I would say 98% of the time, 99% of the time, I'm turning around and celebrating with my partner. I could care less about what the other person's doing across the net. I have heard so many times this season that I got stared down, and like I could hear my team cheering on when like I was getting stared down or something like that. Like, look back at it. And which is like, but I don't notice it at all. Like I literally would never know. I wouldn't know until I watched back the video and I was like, holy shit. No, I know.
I was like, oh my God, they are like staring me down. But like I don't notice because like I'm so focused on my partner and like my relationship with like UCLA and being like a little unit. And that's the way I like it to be. And I continue that on. Like I never want to make it now. Like it feels so much better to me walking off of a match knowing that I can shake your hand, like knowing that like I didn't interact with you and like I was respectful and like I kept to myself. And I think that's something though that you learn like when you get older of like you really do keep it on your side of the net. Like Megan Delaney do the best job of remaining like so respectful. They're the ones for USC. They remain like so respectful and just like friendly throughout the entire match. They never talk to the other side of the net. They don't like walk around like better than everyone. Like they really do just know how to handle themselves. And I like really liked that approach because nobody could talk bad about them. Like nobody was going to say anything about that.
Yeah. I mean, that's a huge thing. It's like, you got to respect your opponents.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter who's on the other side of the net. Like you need to remain true to who you are. And I feel like the people who stray from that, it's just like, I don't know, you kind of have to like figure yourself out. Like, who do you want to be known for? Like, do you want to be like the girl that's like, oh, like she's a total like like, you know, you gotta know who you are.
Exactly. That was a huge problem for me because I always felt that people like hated me in the beach world. And I realized it was because of the way I was reacting to other people, because I wasn't making it an easier thing for myself to like make friends when I'm going and screaming at you across the net. But I also think that like I will always be one of those people that people love to beat. Like that's just who I am. It was probably and it was probably because when I was younger I was like that. So there's a little bit left, and because I am fiery, not to the other side of the net, but like to my partner. Like I will scream, I will yell, I will throw sand. But I love that. Like, I love that, like, I know I'm going to get everyone's, like, best competition and, like, I'm going to get their best match. And I also think that, like, that's what makes volleyball fun is, like, when you just, like, absolutely want to kill someone. And, like, when people are coming for me like that, I think that there was so much recognition I got after the tournament from like people who I'd played against throughout the whole season being like, it was just so fun playing against you. And like, we can shake hands and be like friends and be done with this now. I had a great time playing against you. And I felt the same way. I reached out to somebody too, because I was like, I probably took those matches maybe a little too personal. And I was like, but I had the best time playing against you. And like, I love that side came out.
I mean, like, just like you're saying, I mean, I feel like it is a little bit different when you're playing against USC because of the rivalry between UCLA and USC. Although you should play everyone the same, like there is just a little bit more emotion when playing against certain teams and certain people. And I don't know, I think it's good. I think it brings out like your best side because it's like you better be on or else you're going to get stomped on. Number one. Number two, like, I don't know, there's like this extra like kind of creds, like you want to like beat the Trojans.
Of course you always want to beat them. Like, and I think that I have like the same mutual respect that I know they want to beat us just as bad, and like that's cool. Like I think that if you can, like what you're saying, like respect that and put a line at it, like that's awesome. If it ever goes too personal, that's where I'll maybe start like looking back and being like, yo, calm down or something like that. But for the most part, it's like we keep to ourselves and it's like, it's good.
Like if you're going to stare me down one more time,
I'm like, you're going to hear about it.
Well, what's next, Devon?
What is next is craziness. We are playing in the Huntington AVP tomorrow, so Thursday, and we are so excited. I have been like waiting to get back out in like the AVP like era, and I think that it's just a different kind of play, and like it's so fun and it's free, and like it's just me and you out there. Like it's not, we don't have 20 people on us that like we're playing for. It's like playing for each other and like also to like go out there and win. So I'm so excited to compete again. And then after that we're going to Germany.
Girls in Europe.
Girls trip.
We have like kind of started to finalize our summer schedule, and we're just so excited to, like you said, like play on the AVP again. And I think last summer was so much fun, especially because I literally thought I was going to be done with volleyball forever. And then we ended up playing the whole summer. I was like, okay, like,
you're like, you love it.
I guess I'm back. But yeah, like you were saying, playing again this year, I'm just so excited to kind of go back out and just play for each other, and just we have no expectations, which is nice. Like we're the rookies.
Totally.
Like, we don't have anyone that
there's no seedings on our back. Like we're in the qualifier and we get to just go out and have fun. And I think too, it's a different kind of play when you're playing like professional. When you're playing college volleyball, you're playing against the same team over and over again. So you have to do video 24/7 and you have to like really hone in on your team only. For these kind of tournaments, like we don't even know exactly who we're going to be playing if we win that first one tomorrow. Like it depends on who beats who and who beats who in this tournament and whatever. And so it's like exciting because you really get to like bring out your best strengths, because a lot of teams don't know it yet. And you just get to play like free and aggressive and just like, I don't know, go for it. I'm excited.
Yeah, it kind of evens the playing field, because it's like we don't know their tendencies, but they don't know ours. So it's like you can just go out there and like be the best team win.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like totally up for grabs that day. Seedings don't really mean anything versus college volleyball when there's 5 pairs going against each other. It's a little bit more sure of what's going to happen. You have no idea what's going to happen. I saw last year in a tournament the number 1 seed get upset by the 16th or 32nd seed. And it was like, that could happen tomorrow. Who knows?
How do you feel about us kind of jumping into this next chapter? We had like a 2-day break from UCLA beach volleyball. How is the jump going to be for you?
I mean, we were talking about it earlier. I'm excited to get back in the weight room just because I took like a week and a half. I mean, it's been a while since we've been able to do full lifting because like we've been in competition, so you don't want to do too much. But it was no break. We got home on Sunday and you take Monday, Tuesday off, and we were back on Wednesday. And it's like there were little breaks here and there. I'm going for a trip on Monday. So a nice relaxing vacation in Mexico. I'm not touching a volleyball. I'm going to be totally in my remote little island. But I love like not taking too long of a break because I just have had the best time competing and like had the best time doing that with UCLA, and now it's a different ball game. So it's like getting to do that with you again, getting to just like go out there and be a professional. Like we can officially call ourselves professional athletes. It's no longer a collegiate athlete.
Nope.
You know?
Yeah, it's crazy. I've experienced both like taking an entire summer off and then also playing all summer, and I like both. But, I think definitely having like the quick little break is kind of nice, especially coming off that like super hard loss. Like I'm looking forward to playing again and not just like never picking up a ball ever again. Like we get to go compete literally tomorrow and I'll have new games to watch, like new just like experiences, and like I'm just looking forward to those crazy games where it's like, down to the wire. And then, like
it's in our own control too.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Her Playbook podcast. Make sure you tune in to AVP Huntington this weekend. There's going to be a lot of great matches, and hopefully we play some great volleyball.
Yeah, and come say hi if you see us.
Yes, please.
Bye.
Bye, guys.